The polished floors of Beverly Hills Motors reflected the sunlight streaming through glass walls, but the light could not illuminate the tension. A murmur ran through the crowd, punctuated by the faint hiss of air conditioning and the occasional clink of coffee cups. Then a voice cut through everything, precise and deliberate. "Go right ahead. I'll give you the Ferrari if you can get it to work." Those words bounced off the glass walls and settled like sparks on gasoline. Eli Vaughn, tall and impeccably dressed in navy wool, commanded the room without effort. Every motion of his hand was calculated, every smirk rehearsed. His words were a gauntlet, and everyone felt the electricity of a man used to being obeyed. The object of the challenge was a Ferrari F8 Tributo, a mangled red sculpture in the corner of the showroom. Metal twisted, paint scorched, wiring spilling like blackened vines from torn panels, it had been declared a total loss. Headlines months ago screamed of a crash, but now it was a centerpiece of spectacle, a symbol of failure. No one noticed the car. All eyes were on Kaani Moore. She stood by the espresso counter, tray trembling faintly in her hand, her uniform pristine, hair coiled neatly into a tight bun. She looked almost ceremonial, out of place in a room of million-dollar machines and wealthy spectators, yet there was a quiet intensity about her. The subtle gravity of her presence drew focus, as though the air itself bent toward her calm determination. Eli raised his voice, dripping mockery. "You heard me, sweetheart. 5 certified mechanics said it's impossible, but maybe you can work miracles with those gorgeous little fingers." The audience erupted. Laughter bounced off the walls. Phones whipped out to record every second. Someone shouted, "Black girl mechanic." Another added, "She'll need a wrench from Jesus." Connie didn't flinch. She pressed her lips into a steady line. The ridicule, the mockery, it was background noise. To her, the task alone existed. She was here to solve a problem. Her life had been shaped for moments like this. Growing up in West Long Beach, she learned early that life was noisy, chaotic, and often unfair. Her father died before she turned 5. Her mother, Sharon, a nurse battling multiple sclerosis, relied on disability support while Connie brought in what little she could from tips and odd jobs. Life didn't harden her, it forged her, shaping a resilience that showed in every motion, every glance, every calm breath. Most people saw a smile, sunny and persuasive, that could charm any customer. Few knew the truth. She had graduated top of her class at MIT, interned at Marinelo, and held patents for groundbreaking engineering work before she turned 25. Offers to work in elite automotive companies poured in. Yet she returned home, serving coffee, caring for her mother, and quietly continuing her engineering work in her small garage apartment. Eli strutted around the wreckage, theatrics in full display. "Come on, sweetheart. You've changed tires before, right? Maybe while waiting for your latte." The audience laughed harder. Phones recorded in anticipation of failure. Connie placed her tray down deliberately, wiped her hands, and approached the Ferrari step by measured step. Her gaze never left the car. Her lips pressed together. Every movement was precise, intentional, full of focus. She knelt, inspecting panels, wiring, the ECU, throttle actuator, and power distribution box. Each component told a story to her trained eye. Gloves fitted snugly on her hands, ceremonial and functional. Every gesture spoke of discipline, as if she were preparing for delicate surgery. Whispers began to ripple. "She actually knows what she's doing." Then she spoke, soft but slicing the tension. "This car wasn't damaged in the crash. It's sabotage." The words froze the room. Phones paused mid-recording. Gasps followed. Eli laughed, trying to reclaim control. "Bold claim, proof." Her eyes locked with his, unwavering. "Proof, I built this engine. I know every component. This fuse shows heat stress inconsistent with the accident. The throttle actuator was tampered with. The ECU logs confirm it." She produced her phone. Photos and diagrams showed her in a red lab coat at Marinelo, documenting every aspect of this Ferrari's construction. Silence spread. Even the most skeptical investors lowered their devices. Eli's smirk faltered, then widened nervously. You made fun of me because I looked like the help, she continued, but I built the very machine you pretend to understand. Kaani carefully removed the fuse from the power distribution box. This fuse failed due to intentional heat stress, not accident, she explained. The wiring surge was engineered. The throttle actuator was hand-adjusted and resealed improperly. The ECU logs capture voltage spikes, torque anomalies, and operational inconsistencies. Every failure corresponds exactly to the components your insurance report listed as destroyed. A murmur of disbelief ran through the crowd. Phones hovered, capturing every detail. The laughter that had filled the room vanished. Eli tried to regain control. You think we'll believe that a waitress just happened to work on this car? Her voice remained calm, precise, commanding attention. I do. None of the inspectors who certified the crash report constructed this engine. They only read reports. They never touched a single component. I know every wire, every algorithm, every torque value, and the data shows intentional sabotage. She connected her phone to the Ferrari's onboard diagnostics. Streams of numbers, logs, and readings flashed across the display. Voltage spikes aligned with tampered components. Torque anomalies traced back to deliberate interference. The ECU records even contained manually overridden entries, time-stamped 3 days before the supposed crash. The crowd leaned in. Phones recorded whispering, murmuring. Investors exchanged glances. A young salesperson muttered, "She's right, this isn't an accident." Eli's grin wavered. He stepped forward, chest puffed, voice rising. You have no idea what you're talking about. I do, Kaani replied evenly. Because I built this engine, I calibrated it, I tested every sensor, and I can prove that this car was deliberately sabotaged to hide fraud. She lifted a small, scorched fuse for all to see. Look closely, see the heat stress pattern? That doesn't happen in a collision. Someone applied external heat to destroy it. The throttle actuator, hand-adjusted, resealed. The wiring surge, engineered. And the ECU logs, clear evidence. Every detail corresponds exactly to the parts listed as destroyed. Gasps filled the room. Some spectators whispered frantic explanations to each other. Phones captured every moment. The air felt heavier, charged, as if everyone in the room suddenly realized the scale of what was happening. Eli's arrogance faltered. He tried to regain dominance, but his usual theatrics felt hollow against Kaani's calm authority. You expect us to believe that, he sneered. You, a waitress. Kaani didn't raise her voice. She held his gaze. I'm not a waitress. I'm an engineer. I designed this engine, built this ECU calibration, and I can trace every failure back to human intervention. You mocked me because of a uniform. You assumed my intelligence was tied to my appearance. And now, the truth is undeniable. The murmurs in the room grew louder, shifting from disbelief to awe. Investors leaned forward. Phones continued recording. Laughter was gone, tension replaced it. Kaani's presence, her knowledge, her clarity of thought had become magnetic. She continued. You relied on the assumption that no one would know the difference between a crash and sabotage. But I do. Every component tells a story. Every failure has a signature. And every signature points to deliberate interference. A mechanic from the crowd stepped closer, eyes wide. She's right. Look at these readings. Kaani nodded slightly, motioning toward the Ferrari's dashboard. The live logs streamed across the display. She highlighted anomalies, voltage spikes, torque inconsistencies, and tampered sensors. This data wasn't generated by accident. Someone planned this. Someone wanted this car to fail. And all the reports, the certifications, the total loss assessment, they are lies. The investors exchanged tense glances. Phones buzzed as live streams captured every second. Comments and reactions began flooding social media. Kaani Moore Ferrari truth black girl engineer. Eli's face reddened. He opened his mouth, but no words came. Every attempt at dominance fell flat. The power dynamic had shifted. Kaani Moore, once dismissed as a barista, was now the center of authority. Her intelligence, precision, and courage overshadowed his wealth and bravado. Kaani took a breath, her calmness accentuating the drama in the room. I don't need applause. I don't need recognition. The data, the evidence, the engine itself, they speak louder than your words ever could. She stepped back, letting her work stand for itself. Then, with a simple gesture, she invited Eli to try starting the car. He hesitated. The crowd held its collective breath. Investors, employees, and onlookers stared at the Ferrari like witnesses to a miracle. Eli stepped forward, tentative, his usual confidence gone. He turned the key. The Ferrari roared to life. Smooth, perfect, undeniable. Gasps echoed through the showroom. Some covered their mouths. Phones recorded the historic moment. Even those who had mocked her only moments ago couldn't deny it. Kaani removed her gloves and set them neatly on the hood. I'm done here, she said simply. No triumphal pose, no flourish. Just dignity, authority, and calm certainty. The crowd erupted in whispers, awe, and respect. The reality was clear. She had done what no one else could, and she had done it flawlessly. Later, as the crowd dispersed and the cameras lingered on the Ferrari, Kaani walked through the showroom toward the glass doors. Each step deliberate, each movement a statement of confidence. Outside, the sun reflected off the car's polished red surface. For the first time that day, Kaani allowed herself a small smile. Because she knew this victory wasn't about applause. It was about proving the truth. By the time Kaani reached the sunlight outside Beverly Hills Motors, the world had already begun to notice. Phones had captured every detail of her work. Social media was alive with hashtags: Kaani Moore, Ferrari Truth, Black Girl Engineer. Comments and shares multiplied like wildfire. Her name was trending before she even realized it. She paused for a moment, taking in the quiet strength that came from knowing she had done the impossible. This was not about wealth, not about fame, not about proving anyone wrong. It was about truth, integrity, and mastery of her craft. Back inside, Eli Vaughn remained frozen among the crowd. His attempts to reclaim authority had collapsed under the weight of undeniable fact. Investors whispered urgently among themselves. Some confronted him directly. Others examined the data Kaani had presented. The laughter and mockery of earlier had transformed into disbelief, awe, and cautious respect. Eli had thrived on theatrics, wealth, and intimidation, but Kaani's calm intelligence had undone him completely. As the showroom emptied, Kaani's phone buzzed continuously. Media outlets, social media alerts, and messages from friends and colleagues filled the screen. But she didn't rush to answer any of it. She needed to pause, to breathe, and to reflect. Her mind drifted back to home, to her mother, Sharon, who had always been her anchor. Sharon had worked tirelessly to provide stability despite illness, never asking for recognition or reward. Kaani had often felt the weight of responsibility press down like a stone. And yet, moments like this reminded her why every sacrifice had mattered. Later that evening, in her small apartment scented faintly with coffee and engine oil, Kaani finally allowed herself to relax. Her mother was waiting in the living room, wheelchair positioned by the window. Kaani knelt beside her, phone resting on the table, images of the Ferrari and the logs still flashing softly. "You did it, baby," Sharon whispered, her voice shaking slightly with pride and emotion. "You didn't just fix a car, you fixed the way they see us." Tears welled in Kaani's eyes. She had fought through mockery, prejudice, and the skepticism of those who underestimated her. And now, the world could no longer ignore what she had accomplished. "It wasn't about them," Kaani replied softly. "It was about knowing the truth and standing for it." As night fell over the city, Kaani opened her laptop. A blank blueprint stretched across the screen. Her hands hovered over the keyboard, poised to create the next innovation. The name she typed, More Performance Systems, glowed with promise. This was her company, her vision, and her future. Every design, every calibration, every engine would carry the precision, discipline, and dedication she had poured into the Ferrari that day. The world outside buzzed with attention. Reporters contacted her. Offers poured in from automotive companies, engineering firms, and investors eager to work with the woman who had dared to challenge the impossible. But Kaani didn't rush. She had learned patience. She had learned discernment. She had learned that true accomplishment comes from mastery, not applause. Her mind returned to that showroom, to the moment when all eyes had been on her. The fear, the ridicule, the doubt, she remembered it all. And she smiled quietly, knowing she had transformed every moment of mockery into proof of her brilliance. Days later, news outlets broadcast her story worldwide. They praised the barista, who had been underestimated, the young engineer who had rebuilt a Ferrari from sabotage, the woman whose intelligence and courage had exposed the truth. Yet Kaani remained grounded. She didn't seek the spotlight. She sought progress, knowledge, and innovation. One evening, alone in her workshop, she examined the Ferrari once more. Every panel, every wire, every sensor told a story. And now, with her hands guiding the car back to perfection, she felt something profound. Mastery is quiet. Authority is calm. Triumph is internal. She remembered her father's hands, teaching her to be precise, to respect machines, to never give up. She remembered her mother's strength, teaching her resilience, compassion, and discipline. All of it had led to this moment. Her phone buzzed again, a reminder of the world watching, waiting, applauding. But Kaani didn't look at it. Instead, she focused on the blueprint in front of her. The cursor blinked like a heartbeat. She typed the first line of a new design, a performance engine capable of unparalleled precision, a Ferrari-inspired creation that carried her signature and her standards. Outside, the city hummed, unaware of the quiet revolution happening in a small apartment. Kaani Moore had become a symbol, not for fame, not for fortune, but for intelligence, integrity, and perseverance. The Ferrari had been restored, her reputation established, and her future limitless. She leaned back, stretching her arms, and let herself smile fully for the first time in hours. In that moment, Kaani understood a truth the world would never take from her. Brilliance doesn't ask for permission, courage doesn't need an audience, and the quietest voices can roar the loudest when the time is right. The cursor blinked, the blueprint awaited, and Kaani Moore, undefeated, ready, and resolute, began her next masterpiece.